Hiya. Right, welcome to the webinar. I'm Martin. I am co-founder, CEO of EdShed, and I'm going to run you through a bit of an update of all sorts of things that have been going on at EdShed. First of all, I suppose, yeah, I suppose I should start with PowerPoint. That's what I should do first of all. So first of all, go share. There we go. Okay. So first of all, I wanted to say thank you, really. Thank you for coming on to the webinar, and I suppose a thank you to everybody who's committed to using us and is engaged with us and is worked for us and with us. Myself and Rob, we started with this silly idea for a spelling game, and it's somewhat escalated. We've tried to do our job well and make things that help people, kids, teachers, everyone in between, and it's really humbling to look actually at some of the numbers, which I'm going to share in a second, and sort of to see where we've come to in sort of 7 years or so. So we're very grateful, and hopefully, as I say, we've done what we tried to do of just doing our best for schools and teachers and kids and parents and everyone else. So first of all, international update. So we've got an international presence. We're predominantly, I'd say 90% or so of our sort of activities in the UK. We have quite a few British international schools. As of now, we reckon Spelling Shed is used in about a third of English primary schools, Maths Shed in about a tenth. We have seen a bit of a shift from individual teachers to schools, which is, I suppose, maybe shows the kind of evolution and maturing of our product in schools, that it becomes more of a kind of whole school decision. Our games get played by about 2.5 million kids every month, which boggles my mind. But it's amazing that children are so enthusiastic about their learning on our platform. Our team has grown, including regular contractors. We're pushing 50 people, which again blows my mind. And we've got our sort of head office in Worcestershire. We also have a little satellite offices in Atlanta, in Georgia, in America, and in Johannesburg. We've got a couple of guys out there. So and as I say, we're just trying to do our job well. And what's been great actually this year, we all kind of got through the chaos of COVID in the education world, but it's been really nice this year for us to be able to kind of consolidate a little bit and hopefully tighten all sorts of things up, and again to just deliver as good a standard service and product as we can. Into some international goings on while we're looking at the slide. So I say British international schools, British schools, that's kind of our, we're pretty solid there. In America, we've got a full US version of Spelling Shed now, so that's been built from the ground up, and Phonics Shed is coming to America this summer. We've got Maggie, who's supporting schools out there based in Atlanta, as I say. In South Africa, we've got, it's sort of a different arrangement of product because of just the curriculum. So we've got EdShed, Phonics and Spelling, which is a kind of combined product. We have Brian and Nosy out there in an office in Joburg, and we've got our first schools coming on board with quite a lot of training going on, but it's quite nice after a few years of trying to kind of get understand how South African schools work. Really interesting, I have to say, to look at South African schools, American schools and British schools, and how much is the same and how much is not the same. But that's kind of going on. And so if any South Africans listening or Americans listening, there's product for you. Also, with the Australian flag, we've just started a project to create an Australian Spelling Shed curriculum version. So that will be in sort of a preview at EduTech in Melbourne in August. That will only just be like a few samples. But there'll be a full launch in January next year. So we've got quite a lot of Australian schools using our English product. But so what we decided is actually, we should reflect the local curriculum. So we're creating that at the moment. So that's those things. What else are going on? So I thought what I'd do is run through some kind of highlights of things that have happened this year from a product point of view, some things which have been there a while and seem to have kind of been rediscovered as well. And then I will go on to give some sort of previews of things which we're looking forward to bringing out in sort of 24-25, the next academic year. So the first thing, training. So we've had lots of training going on. We've delivered 122 training sessions, phonics and spelling, different formats, full day, twilights, events, in person, Zoom, all sorts. We've also had about 150 people have completed our champion training, and that's completely free. You don't have to have a subscription to have access. What that gives you is a kind of free training on how EdShed works, how the products work, and a lot of those things that are kind of day-to-day problems, so that a lot of the answers in terms of how the system works, how to achieve the things that you want to, are in there. So, and it's completely free. You get a little certificate. So it's worth having a look at that if you haven't. But as I say, 150 people or so have done that and got their certificate. And we hope that it's sort of part of our proactive support, I suppose. If we can put support information out in the form of training, then people get less stuck, so they can be more successful more easily. So that's training. Get the wrong thing. Grammar Arcade launched relatively recently. An absolute bonkers number of gameplays and answers and whatever. I think when we did this little graphic that I stole from Facebook, we had attained about 50% of the volume of gameplays that Spelling Shed has. So you can do some maths and see how much Spelling Shed gets. But really, really well received. Lots of great feedback. Really nice after quite a long project. Lots of content, lots of different game ideas. And we've got a couple of things left we want to do to it. In that we've got some existing quiz content which we had previously, which we're going to embed in there, and a few other little details. Worth noting, there is a full set of teaching content. It's not like a linear teaching progression like Spelling Shed is, but there's every point that is in Grammar Arcade is covered by a teaching PowerPoint. So we would sort of advocate for teaching punctuation and grammar as part of a writing sequence. But if you find something where you're right, we need to actually just explicitly teach this point, then there's resources for that, and then the games to practice and reinforce those concepts. Some pictures, so it's what it looks like for anyone who hasn't come across it. So Grammar Arcade, there's some of the different games. Mouse Mansion, which literal screams from some year twos that I demoed this to when it was pre-release, from the excitement of being chased by a little ghost. Fast Fish, some of the games, the dog game, Pairs in the Pond, more sentence building, Bracket Bridge, the parenthesis type games. There we go. So but yeah, loads of games, lots of fun, and different ways of looking at punctuation and grammar concepts. Another thing that we launched slightly before Grammar Arcade was Mastery Zone. That is a part of Spelling Shed, and what that essentially does is it is adaptive, so it uses a little kind of AI sort of diagnostic tool, figures out the level of kids, says, well, you're about here, and then what it will do is try and move them on, but it won't let them move any faster than they can go. So it will, if you make a mistake, it will make you fix that mistake until you move on. It also tries to recap concepts that you will have done in the past or might have forgotten. So there's a sort of a spaced repetition / gap finding and filling thing. And again, if it finds gaps, it won't let you move forward until you've completed that. So there was a kind of a separate strand with Spelling Shed. You sort of, I like to say there's keep up and there's catch up. You keep up with your weekly teaching, but sometimes you do have a gap and you need to sort of catch up with that. And so that's where Mastery Zone can act to keep prior knowledge activated, it can act as a revision tool, depending where children are in our system, and it can be quite useful as a diagnostic tool to identify, well, what words have they found difficult? Do we need to to run interventions, and that sort of thing. So that's what that looks like from a kid's point of view. So it's quite gamey. The other thing it encourages is daily play. So a little and often is effective. So 5 days, you'll have a weekend. So 5 days of play, you get 5 stamps, and then you get a honeypot reward. And then the teacher view, similar, slightly less gamey, basically. And what that's showing you is, where the focus words, and what level we're on. So you have to, for each word, you play it in the easiest mode, and you have to progressively master that word in the more difficult levels, and then you have to do it again, having had a gap to completely master it and get it off your list. We've got a new assessment system, a bit more rigor in terms of, actually, we've done a test. We've got an end of term assessment that summarizes the learning to that point. So we've got the week by week test mode. Have they learnt this week's spelling pattern? But actually, at the end of the term, have they remembered everything? Have they embedded those skills? And that's what these do. The other thing which it does, which I think is useful, hopefully, again from a sort of identifying potential interventions point of view, is it will identify the pupils who have made mistakes in particular words. And so again, if there's a trend, it will identify, well, which word is which pattern is which children. So again, you can go, well, okay, we need to put these children together, we need to work on these concepts. So it's just enabling you to have a bit of insight into, if there are gaps, where are they, and how can we action that. A tool that's been there for ages and seemed to be rediscovered this summer is our writing scanner. What that does is you take a bit of writing and it scans it, identifies the words, lets you correct things because it's a computer guess, and then you can compare that to a spelling list, statutory words, for example, and then it finds them. So what I think a lot of teachers have done this year is kind of use it like a moderation organizer. So if you need to evidence spellings, then there is that function built in. But actually, just building up a portfolio of a child's writing for moderation, it gives you an organizational tool where you can go, this kid, there's the writing. Well, this is the evidence for spelling, but actually, this is the piece of writing which we think is a particular type of writing that demonstrates their level, that can then be fed into moderation if you have to do that. Another thing we've had for a while, video quizzes. So you can take any video. This is in EdShed, which is free. So you can create your own of these, and we've got some that we've created. So you can take a YouTube video, for example, or upload your own, and then it's linear. So you watch a bit of video, and then you have a question, which is kind of like a comprehension checker. So you can kind of break up bits of learning, probe, and challenge, and sort of make a sort of a linear format a bit more dynamic in terms of, actually, have we picked up the key points here? And you can do like a little mini quiz at the end where you can have a series of sort of comprehension questions, which again, this is the history example. So this is an Egypt example. So it's just a versatile toolkit, which, as I say, is free. So it's always the best price, isn't it? All right, so coming soon, loads and loads of things. Part of growing means we're able to do lots of fun stuff to existing products, but also new things. So sort of in product order, I suppose. First thing we are developing some maths training options. So I started with training on the previous section, so I thought I'd start with training here. So we've got we're developing some new maths training that will be obviously for EdShed customers, but it doesn't have to be. What we're trying to do is look at what helps schools, and it's going to be EdShed schools who know we exist, I suppose, and how to use our product. But actually, what we've tried to do in our product is include good quality pedagogy. So there will be things about how that's structured, so how we've used different representations, variation theory, bar modeling, all that sort of stuff. But actually those things kind of transcend any scheme. So that'll be out there. So look out for options for any EdShed schools, or just schools who are looking to kind of refresh the maths knowledge and the approach in there. Also maths, we are trying to go a bit more adaptive, so a bit like Mastery Zone. These are shots from with a spelling mistake I've just noticed. Timetables competency grid, which is a good job as pre-release, and that shows you the sort of the output that children will see. But what the tool does behind the scenes is kind of limit that progression, so you have to work in a sensible order. You're not flooding children with too many different things at once. We're taking them down a progression path. That will also come to the number bonds, kind of more additive than multiplicative type arithmetic, and also our quiz, kind of the content that we've got per lesson within a block. So we've got about 40,000 quiz questions altogether that are, there's an excess of questions per step. And what we're adding in there is more of a pacing. So as a, right, we've done the block, let's make sure you can get to the end sort of a tool. What that will do is make sure that the kids who know it get through it pretty quickly. The kids who don't, it will stop them at the point where they found something that they're stuck on, which either through just practice that they can get through it, or you can identify the stuck kids and unstick them. That's coming soon. In Spelling Shed, we are making some pretty minor updates to the scheme, I suppose, in terms of activities, just making sure that everything's kind of leveled appropriately. And there's things that we've, as we've made these sort of international versions, you look back and you think, well, we could use that here. This is a good addition. So we're tweaking, I suppose. But what a sort of a major addition, if you like, is we've made some homework sheets. So if you want some homework which is non-tech, or you want a homework which is practicing the skill from a conceptual level rather than just a pure like the game practice sort of style, those will appear. There's no extra cost there. They'll just be included in the Spelling Shed product. And you can see that there's a stage 2 and a stage 6, so you can kind of see the some of the format that we've got in there. Also, you might have spotted, eagle-eyed people, the font that I've used in this presentation and is in the homework sheets. We made our own font. Twinkle made their own font. I wanted my own font. Well, I thought I did. But we've used a few different fonts over the years, and in Spelling Shed we used the dyslexic font, which at the time there was research that said that it had an impact. Subsequently, there's research that says it doesn't. So we were looking to take it out. It's surprisingly difficult to find fonts that follow primary school handwriting convention, and a lot of those have a cost. And so what we wanted to do was have a font which we liked pedagogically from a letter formation point of view, but also wouldn't have an extra cost. So what we'll do with the EdShed fonts, we'll embed it in our product, but we'll also make it so it's a free and available download for non-commercial use. So schools can just use it with whatever. Obviously, we don't want people to go selling stuff with the font that we spent ages making. And credit to Ali, our in our art team, who's done all the work making this. So that will just, as I say, that will be a free and available font that you'll be able to download from our website soonish. We're just finishing some of the last glyphs and whatever. Phonics Shed, updates for Phonics Shed. We've got some new stuff, some word cards. So these are decodable word cards. The packs are massive. They're pretty chunky. I think the chapter 3 is the biggest one. I think that weighs 3 kilos. There's a lot of cards in there, but obviously there's several sets per chapter and a bunch of cards per set. So the idea is there's more examples than kids can learn. So you definitely, you make sure that you're checking the skill. Those will appear on the store over the summer. And also we are releasing some new decodable book series. There's some non-fiction and some other some books for chapter 4C. Again, those will we're a bit limited by how many we can design at once, I suppose, but we'll get as many out as we can for September, and then obviously the rest will follow. But that's both of these things are kind of highly requested sort of items, I guess. The being able to have the decodable flashcards, and also just more practice reading at the same level, but with different content. So hopefully that adds some value. Another highly requested tool, more on the tech side, for teachers teaching our EdShed lessons. There's a set number of things that you have to include in the introduction for a new GPC, and what we've tried to do is just provide a viewer that makes it a bit simpler from a teacher at the front of a room with a whiteboard to just go, right, there's this thing, then there's this thing, then there's this thing, then there's this thing. We want to embed the our digital flashcard tool as well, so we can have the recap bit, but there's a bit more complexity in that. So that will come as an addition to this tool, but this tool itself should be out for September. I should say it's just streamlining that. It's quite a short amount of time that you have, and obviously with young children, time is of the essence to keep their attention. So streamlining that hopefully makes life a little bit easier for teachers delivering this stuff. We've also on the game side, we've added some more avatars. It's been a bit of a long time since we have updated our avatars, and part of that is because the person who decided how to make the avatars in the first place thought that the approach, this is myself, thought the approach was great, and actually we hit a kind of capacity thing where there was just too much being drawn in this little tool. So we've had to start all over again and remake it, and so they're created in a different way. They're drawn on the server rather than in the browser. So performance should be better, but it's just taken some time to get through it. What we've done in the process though is add things like pets and some other bits, some accessibility thing. There's a wheelchair there. There's also a hearing aid, and there's a few other bits that aren't on the graphic. But hopefully, one, it gives children some more stuff to, particularly like the older children who've been playing on this for years and years. So they're running out of things to buy with their honeypots, but also just a bit of diversity and other stuff to be excited about. And as I say, for different children who have disabilities, obviously we want them to feel represented in there as well. So and if there's stuff when it comes out, particularly like, hey, we could do with a such and such, let us know. Where an advantage of our new system is it's much easier to add new bits than it was before. So hopefully we can do that stuff a bit faster when it's out. Also, new stuff more on the teacher side. So a whole new teacher dashboard. So a really common bit of feedback that we seem to get is the teacher side of things is just a bit confusing, and it's been quite hard for us to pin down what exactly is the issue. And obviously navigation is part of it, and there's lots of stuff that you have to do in there. There's functional things like managing kids and homeworks, but there's also all the data and all that sort of stuff. So what we've tried to do is simple terms, use the screen a bit better. So we've gone a bit wider, and we've kind of taken the opportunity of a redesign to reevaluate some of the flows, and look from, it's different if you are a teacher or a senior leader or a trust administrator. You need different things. So we've tried to sort of reimagine that and come up with a better outcome. The data side of things, I have to say, is not there you go, that's what it looks like. The data side of things is not wholly kind of conceptually complete. We're still playing around with what that needs to do. There are a few particular elements, and again, we're all ears if there are reports where you're the English lead, or you're leading spelling shed in your school, or math shed, or phonics shed, and you're like, I just wish I had a report that said such and such, or I wish there was an easy way to find out which kids haven't done their homeworks. we've added that one. Or which children are below expectation currently that I might need to flag up for some sort of intervention. There's those sorts of things where we've got the data, we've got tons of data. How we represent that in a useful way is really important, but it's stuff that we want the product to be effective and easy to use. So specifics of I would love a report or a chart or a grid that showed whatever. Let us know, and we'll if it helps you, it's going to help somebody else. So we can build that, and now is the time, because we're in the design stage, so this isn't going to be out for September, but it's going to be being built. And when we have built it, what we'll do is we've built it in a way that it can be separate, so you'll be able to run the old version, the new version, so there won't be like a hard cut off. So hopefully no one's going to get sort of thrown by sudden changes, and that will enable us to kind of workshop a bit and take feedback. So we want to sort of take a time and do it well. And then we've got to do it for a long time again, hopefully. Another part of that is competence tracker. So we've taken, there's a spelling competence tracker, and we've got a different kind of format in phonics, which I think is a bit more effective. And so we've put a few different options, so you can look at different types of data, so games versus assessments versus weekly tests versus teacher assessment and mastery zone. And then there's the whole teacher assessment thing. So being able to say, well, let's look at why is this a tick? Well, actually, these are the different data points, and the teacher assessment overrides. So if you go, well, do you know what, they could do this, you can set that, and then you can visualize again, where are the trends? Is there something we need to reteach? Are there some children who need some additional support? Are we looking at speech and language or whatever else? But it's having the data to ask the questions that unstick anybody that needs unsticking. And one more thing, I just had to use the Steve Jobs slide because why not? Because I can. So another project. So we had a meeting about this about 2 hours ago, which is the first kind of kickoff meeting. And what we wanted to do really, we've got a lot of schools now and a bunch of products which we hope help. And so you sort of look at what schools need, and particularly I'm a chair of governors at a primary school. My kids are in a year 7 and 8, and my eldest is left. But we have a fair amount of contact with schools, and you look at the different kind of subjects and the different things that are out there, and sometimes think, well, do you know what, we can do a thing here that helps people. And so what we've started is a new shed, which is a computing shed. And that will hopefully, there are a few computing projects out there. There's a bit of backstory. So I was on the Computing at School working group, which are the people who wrote the current national curriculum. I didn't write it. I was just on the group. I did a bit of networking and I interfered with some stuff, more from an industry side at the time, to be fair. I also was, by pure random coincidence, in the meeting with the BBC where they did a bit of brainstorming for a thing that ended up being the microbit, and then I was in the meeting when they announced the microbit. So I've kind of been around this stuff for quite a long time, and so and I think the way we do things in EdShed, of a mix of curriculum, teaching content, and online tools, I think lends itself really well to a computing product. And I think there are free products out there, as there are for everything. I don't think there's an ideal solution, and obviously that's what we'll arrogantly think we'll go and make. One thing I can tell you that everyone that I've asked about this has said that they want, which we'll definitely build, is like a decent, easy to use databasing tool. And it's that's the sort of thing that makes us think, well, actually there's some value to add here. It isn't a completed thing, So we're working with a partner for some of the curriculum content who have got a ton of expertise in this. And hopefully that combination of the teaching content that is at the right level, that is easy for teachers to use, and a digital tool set which children can get to easily, and teachers haven't got tons of setup. There's nothing to install. There's it all kind of fits together. That makes it easy. But also, the nature of computing is you're teaching kids a bunch of tools, hopefully tools that they can then use, like a presentation tool and a video editing tool and say a database surveying tool, to do other stuff. So things that are just useful in their own right once you know how to use them. timeline wise, we're hoping to launch a kind of if not completely complete sort of preview version around this time next year, if not a little bit earlier, to sort of have full use from September 25, which is less far away than it sounds it should be. So there you go. Okay, so that's it. That's my update. So the last bit, Q&A. I'm going to stop sharing. So any Q&A, I've whizzed through all sorts. There should be a Q&A button, and I can't see any questions in there. But if anyone has got a question they would like to ask, pop it in there, and I will try and answer it. I will pad for a minute, and if no questions come up, then I will stop. If anyone does have any feedback, questions, the stuff that I've asked about with either particular reports, the teacher dashboard, feedback about our products, constructive feedback's always welcome. We want to make a good product, and so hearing from people really helps. Or for the newer stuff, particularly, I mean, like Australia, for example, schools that want to pilot things, again, it's always really helpful. If anyone wants to, the easiest way to communicate with us either is social media or emailing support@edshed.com. That just comes through to our sort of central ticket management thing. But they all get picked up and sort of dished out to the right people. So so any feedback or questions or clarifications or anything like that, then send those through. There's a Q&A. So apologies for joining late. At an unplanned meeting, will the recording be available? Yes, so I'm recording it and we're going to put it on YouTube, I think. It's a bit too long to go on places like Facebook. So, but yeah, we will put it out so everyone who anyone who hasn't made it can view it. Will a Spelling Shed subscription continue to include the punctuation, grammar, e.g. SPAG resources and Grammar Arcade? Yeah, so Spelling Shed as it is includes Grammar Arcade. The reason we made Grammar Arcade is we thought it was there was a gap, I suppose, but we decided that Spelling Shed, we'd spent ages making stuff and people are stuck with us, and we wanted to sort of keep adding value, and so we sort of saw it as a product evolution rather than a separate product. So 100% Spelling Shed will include all the SPAG teaching stuff, grammar quizzes, Grammar Arcade. There won't be any extra costs, and also worth saying that the price for Spelling Shed won't increase, or Math Shed or Phonics Shed, in the next academic year. We actually put the price down for Phonics Shed this year, so there's no intention to increase pricing. I think where it is healthy and fine, so we won't be increasing the pricing, and we won't be splitting anything out that kind of is like a stealth price rise either. No more questions, no more comments. So so thanks again to everybody for coming on. As I said, the recording will be on YouTube, and I will try and give another update at some point, probably end of the year, and we'll see how everything's going on. Thanks. Bye-bye.